Yes, I see we're streaming live on YouTube.
All righty. And here we go.
Blossom is a YouTube star.
All right. We are live on YouTube. And here we go.
Blossom is a YouTube star.
Uh-oh. Wait. Okay. All right. Sorry, I forgot I was supposed to mute that one. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Ysgithr's second All Thing. And we are joined by the fabulous and wonderful Magnifica Sely Blossom. How are you doing this evening?
Happy. That just makes me happy. I never liked Mistress, and now I have an alternative.
That is so cool. So it's going to take me a little bit to adjust to that title. So if I slip up and call you Mistress, please forgive me.
It's fine. There are one or two that I really don't expect to change. That's mostly for people who don't know me.
Fair enough.
And I don't know, think I might be a reasonable person or something like that.
You are a reasonable person. I admit. We all have our moments, but for the most part, you are reasonable. So now that we are up and running, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I showed up at an officers meeting in like 2002 and asked if I could help. And Sean said, yeah, go help Ellie do water bearing. And that's how all of this started.
Yeah.
And now we're to the point where we have otter pops.
We have otter pops.
We have otter pops, and we have Estrella, and I have squares that let me claim them. And so yeah, I went to a fighter practice in Phoenix in like 1982, and then I lost track of it for years. And we moved to Tucson in 85. And I just never could find anything until I went to work as a temp doing data entry, and I saw a picture on somebody's desk of them in garb, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I came out a few times, and then I just never went away.
I don't think anybody made you go away.
Mingo did. Mingo yelled at me, and he told me to stop touching things and go away. It was the first time I tried to help. It was awesome. A monsoon hit during a baronial, and we were trying to take the pig down, and I was trying to help, but I wasn't doing it right because that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And he's just like, no, just stop touching it, go away, just go. And I came back.
So, all right, so you saw a picture of somebody in garb on the desk, and you decided to show up at an officers meeting. And 18 years later, you are an integrated part of the Kingdom of Adenveld. There's nobody that doesn't know you.
I'm sure there are, and that's okay.
I think there's, 3 people who may not know you.
Maybe.
There's people that don't know Waffle belongs to me. There's people that know Waffle but don't know me, which I thought was interesting.
That's completely reasonable.
So, funny little story. I took Waffle to the Bahamas.
That's right.
And on a cruise. And when we got to St. James Island. St. James? Yeah.
I wasn't there.
No.
The Islanders loved him. And when I told them that I was taking pictures of him because he was traveling around the world, I literally had to chase Waffle down the wharf, shop to shop to shop to shop, because the Islanders were so thrilled with this. And they were so happy to take pictures with him. And I still, you come across things, those memories that bring you warm and fuzzy and happy and let you know that not every day is a bad day. I pull those memories every now and then, and I'll see pictures of Waffle, and I'm like, oh, remember what happened with the Islanders, But I was pleasantly surprised at how open-minded people were when you tell the story of Waffle.
So his bondage suit.
I have not made the channel rated R yet. Would you behave? So
I've only had one person ask me if I was a little old to be carrying around a frog. And it was a cousin that I'd never met before. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Can you tell us about Waffle and what started Waffle and where Waffle is in his world travels?
Where is Waffle? I think he's sitting on the kitchen counter.
He better be cooking you dinner.
Yeah, not quite. My husband used to come to stuff with me, and he decided it just wasn't really his thing. He's kind of, he didn't want to fight, and there wasn't much else he wanted to do, so he didn't really want to just sit in camp. And as I started getting busier and busier, he really, really, really didn't want to be Mr. Blossom, which I totally can't blame him, because it's like, hey, can we go to the crappy little war where I'm a hero, maybe? So that wasn't fun for him. So he didn't come as much, and I went places. And so Waffle was my traveling companion. And then I started taking him everywhere. Where have I take him on vacation. I take him anytime I need a little extra support. He's my emotional support frog. And I also send him places to travel. So he's met Will Wheaton a couple of times. Had his picture taken with Will Wheaton a couple of times. Has been to Japan. He's been to Hawaii. I think he's been to Hong Kong. He's been to Seattle. Well, he went with me. He went with somebody else. He had a toy car in his pocket one time, and I sent him someplace with Willa and Domenyev, and the toy car in his pocket freaked out security. They like patted him down, and then they acted, and then it was like they were embarrassed, but they had to. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, there was a toy car in his pocket. I picked it up somewhere and put it there. And when they came back from Hong Kong, they brought me a little tiny stuffed frog, and security took that apart. They took its head off so they could check inside for God knows what. But fortunately, they didn't do that to Waffle, so that's good. But
wow, really?
He spent a couple months with my mom right back before quarantine started. My mom just suddenly got really sick and had some kind of upper respiratory thing, and they couldn't quite figure out what it was. And she declined real quick, and they put her in, she was in ICU, and they tested and never really figured out what it was. And it freaked me out. And I took Waffle up there, and I was like, here, he's gonna stay with you. And every time I've taken him to the hospital with me for anything, everybody's super, oh, okay. Because I've taken him to the emergency room with me, and this is my emotional support frog. And they go, oh, okay. And then right after that, the quarantine hit. So he stayed there. He stayed with her for a really, really long time. I just got him back like maybe a month ago, because I just hadn't seen my parents in that long. And I don't want to, heaven forbid, I give my mom anything. She came out of ICU, was in a rehab facility for a little while, and she seems to be doing a little better now. But I'm not kill my mom with COVID. That would be bad. My mom taught me how to take care of people. So yeah. That's important.
I feel really, really bad for our older folks. My mom lives alone, and I can't have her over.
Yeah.
Just because the risk factor is too high. And I did teach her how to FaceTime. So we at least have that live video.
My in-laws are doing Zoom.
Nice.
I think that's kind of funny. My husband was gonna do a Zoom with them yesterday, and he forgot. But that's kind of neat.
Right now we're all struggling in this world that we live in now. you know, and we're all finding ways to make it work in the best possible manner we can. I mean, I'm seeing videos from all over the world, what other kingdoms are doing, what other people in those kingdoms are doing. And that's actually part of what gave us the idea to do the Althing. And it's really kind of helped. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, this is great, you know, because I want to be around my people, you know. And that's the one thing we're all missing the most.
And it's good to hear each other's voices.
Yeah.
And see each other at the same time. One of the things that I love best about the ethereal courts that we've been doing is I love watching Morgan fidget. I love to watch Morgan fidget. I always have. And it's just, and the basic night stuff videos, oh my God. And the basic square stuff videos, those were just a lifeline for me. Those were fantastic. I like them so much. I did a couple basic Pugsley stuff videos.
I can be having just a wretched day at work, and I'll throw one of those videos on, and I'll be sitting at my desk and snorting, laughing, and you know, it's really nice to have that little break away from the just life in general for a moment. So, speaking of squires, you claim them all.
Would you like to hear the story? Would you like to hear about the first one that I claimed? Not everybody knows this. Most people don't, actually.
Yes. I would like to know how all the squires became yours.
It was when Sean still lived here, Sean South, and it was, I think, not that long after he'd been Baron, and I showed up in an event. And if you've ever traveled with Sean, or if you were familiar with his reign, Sean's a great guy. I love him, and he's not a big planner. So, you know, he gets there, he gets where he's gone, and everything happens, but it doesn't, he's a little bit like I am too. He doesn't sweat the details a whole lot. So it was frequent that we'd be at an event waiting on Sean and we'd get a call. I am running late, or I need this, or whatever. Or can you set my stuff up, or something like that. And he showed up at an event, and his squire Ogadai had been helping me set my stuff up, and Sean showed up and he's like, why don't you set my stuff up, squire? And I was like, Sean, you know, all your squires belong to me. He was helping me. You shush. And Sean did a spit take. He literally did a spit take, and he thought that was funny. And so squires are why I do what I do. To a lot, all fighters are. I have a special place in my heart for squires, though, because everybody likes to hit a squire. We all know that. Everybody likes to pick on them, and their knights like to pick on them, and their knights like to punish them. And so I like to spoil them, because 90% of the work that I do is for them. And they let me spoil them, and they let me coddle them, and they let me take care of them and ask them for help. So and I will look for a red belt. If I need help, I'll look for a red belt before I'll look anywhere else. I frequently don't ask knights unless I know them. I never occur to me to put a protege to work, ever. Yellow belts mean nothing to me. I didn't have one. So they don't really, it doesn't register for me. It's not a thing. And you know, those artsy people.
So, waterbearing.
So I started out with that because when I first started playing, I was real interested in herbalism, and I was trying to start an herbalist guild. And so I thought that would be a good crossover, because Sean was like, go help Ellie. Ellie needs help. She was ready to be done being the water bearer. And I was like, oh, okay, that seems like a good mix. And then I like it. I like it. It's fun.
Remind me, if you ever get a chance to interview Mistress Sely, to find out if she got her pelican for water bearing.
No, not Mistress Ellie. Lady Ellie.
Lady Ellie. Oh.
Cosmos, yes. Cosmos lady was, she was the water bearer when I started playing. And I think before that, Tigra was Kingdom water bearer, and Lori was, I think, the first water bearing pelican.
So this is where long history, I believe believe Lori did get her pelican for
She
water.
did.
And
She
then
did.
you did. And now you did. So you are essentially our third.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're essentially our third water-bearing pelican. Correct?
Yes.
Or am I wrong on that? Okay.
Nope.
So, but you do a lot more than just water bear.
No, I don't.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is she not our waiver secretary?
Oh, I'm so much use in that position right now.
This is not forever. This is not forever, and we're just going to stick with that, okay?
Yeah, but you were doing that beforehand, so
I was.
not an inquisition. So
Once they took my warrant away once they took all the warrants for water bearing away, I was still taking water to the park, and it made sense to have the waivers be at the table where everybody came anyway. So that's how I ended up doing that.
So you also crochet a lot, and I'm pretty sure there's many warm tops. You realize we argued over the very first one you made for me, right?
Cats are how I show love.
But it's awesome. That's why I mentioned this.
I tried to steal her love.
You did. You totally tried to rob that love.
Succeeded.
So as we all know that over years in the SCA, we have certain articles of clothing. They become our whoobies. I have a set of gloves. Do you realize how old those gloves actually are?
Oh yeah.
I think I asked you for those back in 2009.
I traded them for food. That was one of the first times that I had gone camping without my husband. And I think I camped with the Lance Connects, and I just traded for food with a lot of people instead of actually buying into a kitchen.
So I think those gloves are 11 or 12 years old.
I owe you another pair. I have yarn and I even know where it is.
I find it hilarious that those gloves, when I'm at war, they are my whoopee. I can stay warm anywhere at war, no matter how cold it is, as long as I have my gloves. And there's been a few times I have crawled into bed with those gloves on. But I have to ask, what was that thing you were making earlier today?
Looked like a cup of
Oh,
tentacles.
it's done. That's done. I just got to glue the eyeball into it. I don't know. It could be a plant, maybe not. I like succulents and I like to make tentacles. So I took those rolled the tentacles, wadded up in my hand. Oh, look, it's tiny Satan. Look, it's tiny Satan.
Yes,
Look at naked tiny Satan. So I just take the tentacles and I put them into teacups and things. And it's got an eye in it. And I put things in jars. I just finished painting the lid to a gallon pickle jar with glow-in-the-dark paint. And I'm gonna put it in my front yard with stuff in it because I have neighbors that take their dog like right through the corner of my yard, right next to the house, not out by the street. They come up my they don't now, would come up the driveway and walk their dog right past the corner of the house. And I decided I didn't like that. So I made a little passive aggressive obstacle course. And I put stuff out there. I just made just put some stuff out there because no, I couldn't catch them. And I mean, what am I going to do? Go running out there? Hey, get out of my yard. And I didn't want to do that. So I just left them a message. It worked.
So, Master James claims you keep him in line too. Is
I
that
don't keep him in line. I do not keep him in line. He's lying to you. He keeps me in line. He keeps me in line.
Could it be a mutual thing there?
James is my emotional support squire. He's not a squire anymore, and I need to quit telling people that. And even he said he wasn't a very good squire, but he's the best squire. Even though he couldn't fight, he's done a lot of stuff. He went away for a while, he traveled, he's been a stuntman, he's kind of banged himself up to some extent and reached a point where he just doesn't need to be on the heavy field anymore. But he's the best squire because he's everything. He is the epitome of a good squire to me. He is kind, he is caring, he is helpful, he's useful, he's patient, and it doesn't matter to me if he fights anymore. And now he's a really good pelican, I hope, because he was elevated 5 days before the quarantine came out?
Yeah.
Something like that. Something, like 5 days before we got locked down.
Pretty much. And I always giggle because he is our emergency deputy, and I am very grateful for his service in that regards because, it's nice to know that there are people in this barony that we can rely on, James being one of them, but so are you. Here's the thing. When I rolled into the barony, blah, 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 years ago.
I remember.
I remember getting hit with probably the worst social anxiety I'd ever had in my life. I'm not a personality. I'm very extroverted. I have typically no problems meeting strangers. But I recall that moment that I walked into your water bearing tent and you took one look at me and you said, you need to sit down and here's some water, and are you okay? And the entire message that was sent to me right that moment is you were the safest place I could be right that moment, going through what was going through my head because I was very overwhelmed. And you do that for a lot of people.
I need them. I need safe places. I need them desperately. Therefore, I try to be one whenever I can, because it helps me. It helps when I do have social anxiety. I am a weird, wadded up little person, and I'm a stay-at-home dog mom because I can't hold down a job. And there are really stupid things that I'm afraid of. Like, I can't go tell those people, maybe don't cut through my yard like that. But I can climb out in the middle of a battlefield with guys swinging sticks right and left, and I can find the guy that needs water, and I can pull him off by the grill and get him taken care of. And that means that's fine. I can do that. That doesn't scare me at all. But I don't like to go places by myself. When you realize what it's like to be anxious, you can see it in others. And it doesn't matter to me why. I don't think it makes anyone any less of a person. Sometimes you just need a safe place. And being one makes me feel safer. So
for anybody watching, keep in mind that when we are able to come back together, the water bearing tent will be set up. Lawson will still have her station. It may look different than what we're used to seeing, but if you have that moment where you're overwhelmed, you're not certain, you're scared that you're around a bunch of people you don't know, don't think twice about reaching out to Blossom, because I guarantee you she's going to put you in a chair, put you in a nice spot that's away from everybody and nobody can pounce on you, and give you a few moments to breathe. So
I learned a really cool thing this last Strat. This means help. This means help. So if you get stuck talking to that person that wants to talk to you for half an hour and you are just done and you have to pee, if you can kind of look around and see anybody and you do this thing, somebody will probably come over, just kind of absently, somebody will probably come over and go, hey, can you come here a sec? And help bail you out. So that's the thing. I look for this.
Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome to know. One of the things that I have been looking at over, I believe it's the Ethereal Court of the East Kingdom that I was watching, where they actually have a sign-in. Well, I've been looking at some things myself because I talk with my hands anyway. Why not make it useful?
Water. This means water. I need water, or do you need water? That inquisitive. And I use that on the field because I can't hear them. They can't hear me. Sometimes I just don't want to talk. Why would they? Your mouth's too dry. You just need, and I speak fighter. I speak grunt. I speak grunt and hand gestures.
So, grunt and hand gestures, huh?
It's a thing.
It is a thing. I do not doubt.
You can't breathe, and you can't breathe, and all
You
can
can't
get
hear through the helmet. It's hot. Yeah.
adrenaline.
Do you remember the day at Southern Setup and you were grumpy and I found cheese in my tart for you?
Yeah.
He was grumpy and I was like, here, have a piece of cheese.
That was really good cheese, by the way.
That is epic. Now, I'm only laughing because she has done that to me. I don't believe it was cheese. I believe it was
Dr. Pepper.
Oh, hands down. We know that I am made up of 95% Dr. Pepper. The other 5% is questionable. But I do remember, it was string cheese. I'll be damned. It was string cheese that you had. And we were at a park at Himmel Park. And I remember I wasn't quite right. I was snappy and edgy. And she doesn't ask me. She just walks up and says, and before I knew it, I'm not even holding whatever she's plunging in my face, but I'm taking a damn bite.
Okay, but nothing compares to the time that I camped with you. And I was exhausted and I was just kind of sitting in my chair and it was dinner time. And I was just kind of sitting there and I looked away and I looked back and there was a steak in front of me and I was like, oh, is that food? I like food.
We laughed the rest of the war about that. But actually, my favorite memory, I have two favorite memories of camping with you. 3:00 in the morning, Estrella War, we're at the Canyon Moon site. We hadn't got camp set up. We were all tired. Blossom hadn't even got her tent set up, so she's sleeping in the kitchen. We had not.
You were sleeping in the kitchen. I didn't stake my carport down.
Oh, that's right.
Because it didn't occur to me that we would have a microburst at 5:00 in the morning.
So, add insult to injury, I hadn't staked the walls, hadn't even actually tied the walls completely. I had just done a few at the corners. And at that time, I had this center pole marquee. The walls were attached. This thing was a beast. Microburst is happening. Her carport just
blew away. It blew away.
Or in the road or something. But next thing I know, Blossom's in the kitchen. She comes plowing in the kitchen as I'm holding the pole, trying to keep it from lifting. Suddenly, one of the walls flares out. She runs over, she grabs canvas, steps on the bottom of the wall, starts scooting her butt out. And she's going, no.
At least one tent has to stay standing.
We held that down. I held that tent down with my butt forever. I only had one contact in. One of my contacts blew out and I couldn't see anything. I'm just like, no.
And then my next favorite one, she was camping with us and we were tearing down. We were at Southern Crusade and we're all hot. We're tired. We know how this is. We're dirty. And she marches in her tent. Now she's in her combat boots, but she marches in her tent and she's packing crap up. And next thing you know, she shoots out the side of the carport. I swear to God, that girl cleared land like it wasn't
With
even.
my arms over my head like those little kids from the Christmas story.
Yes.
What?
So she comes shooting out the side of her tent. We're like, what is going on? She's like, scorpion! And I'm like, fine, I'll go take care of it. And I have my period shoes on. She looks down, she goes, I have my boots on, I'll take care of it. She puts her head down and charges straight back into her tent. So I have a couple of favorite memories of camping with you.
I had to have a moment. I like pulled on something and suddenly there's this little tiny, the really poisonous bark scorpions just right there in front of me on the tarp, and I just okay, I just had to think about that for a minute. Okay, I got it.
But the way she put her head down and charged back.
In resignation. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even say resignation. That was full-blown determination.
That was determination. I got it.
So, and then I got Sam going, the sound she makes whenever Pugs does something truly unreasonable. Define unreasonable.
I don't know. He sticks his tongue up my nose a lot.
Oh, wow.
My hair.
What are you worried about? You just had Tiny Satan trying to do the same thing to you.
Well, I stopped her because I know where that tongue is.
His tongue is small. It fits all the way up in there, and then it creates that little vacuum, and it pops back out. It hurts. It's like he's trying to clear out your sinuses. It's like the little Frida thing.
Not need to know that.
Oh, you haven't read her. Oh, God.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the first time I had my CPAP. He jumped on my head and he was like, I'm gonna stick my tongue up Mama's nose. And I heard his teeth hit the mask and he was just so disappointed. So, tink. Oh, I guess I can't stick my tongue up Mama's nose.
When she first got, hold on, not Dante, not Bella,
Jack.
Jack. There was, I looked forward to logging into Facebook to read the adventures of Jack for that day. Because, would they be epic?
They're just so, they're so terrible. Dante's new trick is we have the fridge that has the drawer in the middle that pulls out for the cold cuts and stuff. And you'll open the drawer and you'll be looking in there like, I want, and suddenly the drawer closes because Dante's standing on it and he has pushed it shut. And it's like, no snacks for you.
Is that helpful in any
He spends this every day. Well, he's all legs and no brain, and he can walk up onto the counter. So you can't hide anything from him. I have come home multiple times and found him standing on the counter looking at me like, oh, I'm not supposed to be up here, am I? He's trying to figure out how to open the Instant Pot that we cook the dog food in. I've caught him standing there staring at it, trying to figure out how to get it open.
So I see pictures of him, and there's those moments that cross my mind is he's such a derpy little dog. But then you tell me stories like that, and I'm like, yeah, he's not quite as derpy as we hope he was.
Oh, sure he is. Sure he is. He's just food motivated. He knows how to open lever doorknobs, and he's tall, and he can do that. And we have a lever on the door that goes into the back part of our house that leads to the back door, and it makes a very distinct sound. And Ryan and I are watching TV one night, and we hear that door pop open, and we looked at each other, and I'm like, who has keys to our house? And I was like, James has keys to our house. I don't think he'd do that. Would your parents do that? Your parents have keys. And he's like, and Dante came trotting in. We locked him back. He followed us back there, didn't follow us back out. We shut him up in there, and he let himself back in. And I'm just like, we thought it was a burglar. Nope.
Master James is telling us to ask you to tell the LBD James Rowland story.
Oh my God. So when we first started coming out, I had a Boston Terrier Chihuahua mix, kind of like Jack, but he was actually a good dog. And we had him since he was tiny. He was just a defective, weird little dog. I don't know if you guys remember him. He passed away in, I think, 2000. I don't remember. He was 15 when he finally passed. But I took him everywhere because he didn't bark and he didn't do anything.
Yeah,
He just sat there. I carried him in a puppy sling. I took him to Warren. I carried him in a puppy sling. And I actually had someone say, oh my God, what an ugly baby. I would sit through court. I would sit through an entire court with the sling on one side and then turn to get up and leave. And someone would say, oh my God, you had a dog. I had no idea. So, well, his name was James. We called the dog James. And I started bringing him out. And then I realized how very many people there are in the SCA named James. And we stopped calling him James and we just started calling him Little Black Dog or LBD because there was a day that we were at Estrella and I am speaking harshly to the dog and telling him he's a moron and he needed to get back over here and get in the tent immediately and don't sniff that and don't pee on that either. And I'm like, James. And I realized there's a nice young man answering me. And it was James the Shiny, who we haven't seen him in forever and ever and ever and ever. But he had a full set of plate armor that he would wear sometimes. And he was answering me. He's like, yes, I'm right here. Oh, not you. You're not an idiot. You don't have to get in my tent. I'm so sorry. And there was a day that we were at Crown Attorney and the dog was under the chair. James, get your head out of my ass. He's, bobbling around under the chair. And Roland answers me from across the tent. I'm over here, Blossom. So yeah, we stopped calling him that, and he became LBD because it was too. But we took him everywhere. He actually had a royal menagerie.
Yes.
He went all over the place. He was a good boy, not like Jack. He's a good boy. I lost him one time. I lost him at Crusades, and like I actually had to go to the watch and be like, I know I'm supposed to have him on a leash and stuff, and he hasn't been, and I can't find him now, and I'm so very sorry. And they're like, oh well, if we see him, we'll make sure he was sleeping in the tent with my husband under the covers, and I'd gone in there and looked, and I hadn't seen him. And I'm starting to check other people's tents. Nope. He's right there.
Oh, that's epic.
Just right where exactly he is supposed to be. What?
So you have some epic puppy stories, but you also have a drunken bee story.
Oh, Yanka. Oh yeah, that was awesome. I was sitting at court next to Richard the Brewer. Oh, I miss him. He was the best deputy. And a bee landed in his beer, and he looked at it, and I was like, oh, well, here, and I fished it out, and then it was just kind of sitting there. I like set it on my knee, and it was just like, oh my God, and it was sticky, and it was just, so it hung out, and then I had to go up in court for something, and I'm standing next to Yanka, who was Baroness at the time, and the bee's still hanging there, and I'm like, my bee. You brought a bee. Why did you bring the bee? It can't fly away. There it goes. Yes, I brought the drunk bee to court. I'm like the bee whisperer. The only time I've ever been stung we get bees at Waterburn. We get tons of bees. And the only time I ever got stung is when I shifted my grip on a Gatorade bottle and squished it between my fingers. So I don't blame it for stinging me, but I panicked. I flipped, and I'm jumping up and down screaming with the plate on my head, with a plate of food on my head. And I'm trying to shove stuff at fighters so I can let go and see what's going on. And I had a Lance Connect, and I had Ingvar, somebody else, and Ingvar's very, very tall. And he's like, but how did you get stung? The plate, how? And I'm like, finger! Finger! And Jorg was standing there, he asked me later, he's like, oh, are you the reason they called the ambulance? No, I'm not allergic. It just scared me.
And you have a bee story as well, don't you?
I don't.
Yes, you do. You should tell it.
Oh, please tell us the please tell us the bee story.
So at Mason Greatsword a couple of years ago, when it was at Benson Lions Park,
Oh,
I run up to Wendy's and grab me lunch. And I was sitting at the table, and I was actually talking to Viscountess Victoria. And I was eating my lunch. Everything was good. I knew we had bees, which is why I didn't transfer my drink to my mug. I had a straw. I thought I was great.
Mm.
And I took a drink of my soda, and within a millisecond, I am spewing Dr. Pepper everywhere. I'm spitting a bee out.
oh my God.
He had stung me in the roof of my mouth, and I
Oh,
couldn't get to the stinger.
well, no, you can't.
Now, Victoria is dragging me, or no, Tigra comes walking up at this moment. Victoria tells her what the problem is, and the next thing I know, my Baroness is digging around in my mouth with a pair of scissors to get a stinger out as she's funneling Benadryl in me. And that was the day we discovered that Thera is a 3-year-old without her binky with Benadryl when she gets stung in the mouth by a bee. Because within a short amount of time, His Excellency had to package me up and take me home and put me to bed.
You just can't top that with the rest of the day. So we just kind of
Yeah.
went home.
And
Yeah.
the next morning I find out, yeah, I'm a 3-year-old that's lost my blankie. Not a good combination. But we're being asked,
Oh, what do we got now?
where did Shut Up Palooza come from?
Oh my God, Shut Up a Palooza was my favorite thing ever. I miss that so much. So it was at a barmaid's and it was at Lions Park, Benson Lions Park. And I was in my tent and I heard Celestina, my protege. I heard her come in, and she had been out with Zippy's mom and dad. And I didn't even realize they were with her at first, because all I could hear was Celestina. Mom, no, I just need to stop. No, I don't want any more whiskey. Stop helping me. I just need to zip it. I can do this. I swear. No, I don't need any more whiskey, Mom. And I started to laugh. And so in the middle of all of this, and she's still trying to deal with, I can't even remember, Mom. She's still trying to deal with Mom. And then I heard her say something about Dad, and I was like, oh, Dad's there too. Okay, no, yeah, Dad must be holding the whiskey. And I start laughing, and I'm laughing, and I keep hearing, shut up, Blossom. And go to bed. I'm in bed. Go to sleep. I can't. I'm laughing too hard. And she was so mad. Mom, get out of my tent. So this is now a Fine Del Rock tradition, and we do this occasionally in camp, and we will speak to each other from our various tents. Shut up, Brendan. Go to bed. Shut up, Blossom. And there was one Estrella where I finally gave up on being a self-sufficient human being. I don't even remember what happened, if it was just cold. I don't know what happened, but I ended up in James's tent, and because he had a heater, and he was very kind, and he let me and his dogs, his teacup mastiffs, and one of the dogs starts just right up the side of his face, and James is talking to them like I'm not even there. He's like, yeah, I know. No, we're not kissing all night. And oh my God, I was so glad everybody else is asleep, because there never would have been an end to that. There never would have been an end to it. No, we're not kissing all night. That's not me. I swear to God, it's the dog.
So you kind of tackle a multitude of endeavors. What is your next endeavor when we're able to come back together?
I don't know. I haven't really figured it out, because I realized that the way that I work, that is over, that is done. The way being as close to the fighters as I have been. I know that we're going to have to, at the very least, switch to bottled water, and we're not going to be able to do the non-contact things anymore. And I'm going to have to stop touching people, and it's going to be really hard. I'm used to being able to wipe their face off, put food in their mouth, whatever needs to be done. And at least for a while, until we get the virus under control and everybody stops being contagious. And then after that, it's still not going to go back to being the same, because it'll be different. And that's just the way it is. And if it ever does go back to being the same, I will probably be too old to chase people down anymore. So I don't know.
I got to call yes on that one. And you want to know why I say that? You have a stubborn streak that makes me look malleable. And we all know how I can dig my feet in. But you are very strong-willed when you want to do something. I haven't seen an obstacle stop you yet. I don't think age, you may not be able to do it at the same speed.
True. I'm pretty stubborn. I mean, I had the gastric bypass surgery because I wasn't healthy enough to do what I wanted to anymore, and I was done with that crap. So, whatever we end up doing, whatever kind of stuff we do, I'm still going to be on the field. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing out there, but I'm still going to be out there, because that is where I belong. That is my army. I get to be part of the army. I'm part of the army. Morgan and Liz said so. Zippy said I was part of the Ysgithr fighting force. I have 2 fighting awards for someone who has never, ever put on armor. So I will never, ever give that up. If I have to be out there on one of those little hover around scooter things chasing people, I'm going to do that.
Well, and as it was just pointed out here, you know, you have built-in minions to go and fetch and carry as you need. However, they have to catch you first to do that.
So,
So this guy named Colin Furs built a hover around scooter that would do 70 plus miles an hour.
oh, that would be so dangerous. I would love that.
Right?
So the story you really need to hear, and you really need to hear it from James's point of view, because that just cracks me up, is how he ended up becoming my emotional support squire. We had a really bad Southern one year, and it was in Winkleman, and it was just hot, and we had tons of people drop out. We had fighters drop out. We had water bearers drop out. I sent one, I don't remember who I made. I made one go to Kyrgyz, and I made someone take them. We were all dehydrated, and even I got a little dehydrated and a little not too good with the heat. We'd had a fighter, we peeled all his armor off him and sent him back to camp. And he's like, my armor. And I said, I've got the truck down here. It's fine. We will bring, and we were camped together anyway. It's fine. I will bring your armor too. Don't worry about it. Go. And at the end of the day, I looked at the truck, and this is how you know I'm not well. I don't want to take the truck. I don't want to get in the truck. Let's just carry it. So I start carrying it with my deputy for that event, Amathea, and I'm carrying, and we're carrying all this crap, and we've just got all this crap. And we actually walked past, I think he was the King of the West at the time, and he like nodded at us and went, hey, and we went, hey, and continued trudging with all of this crap. And I ended up taking a shortcut back to camp, and I walked past Del Rock, and I saw Justin and Kane sitting outside one of the tents. And I was like, oh, well, and I was carrying the shield, and I just like pulled it up over my head a little bit, like they won't know it's me. I look like any other fighter. I'm just gonna keep right on going. And I think I dropped something. And no, James came out to stop me. Somebody sent James after me. He saw us going by. No, you need to go get her. And as soon as I stopped, I dropped everything. And then I was just kind of sitting there on the ground, and I wanted to get back up, and they wouldn't let me get back up. And he was taking all my crap away. And I started to cry. And then I saw a pair of shoes, and I was like, oh God, it was Justin. He never said a thing. Never said a thing. Scraped me back up off the, and Ivan comes running. And this was like 5 days after Ivan had made me his line. So Ivan comes running over. He's like, oh my God, I've got an emergency Capri Sun coming. Covered in dirt, snot, crying. And Justin led me back to camp by the hand. And James carried all of the stuff. And then after that, I didn't really go very many places by myself. I could have made it. I really could have.
Yeah, but the magic is you didn't have to.
I was mad. Yeah, well, I was kind of mad. That was a fun. Oh, that was the year that I punched a Lance Connect on the field too.
Oh well.
Sir Justin.
Yeah. And now he's stuck with me. He let me join his household.
He is the one and only person in the SCA that has used the dad voice on me, and it worked. And I won't ever forget when he did it, because I literally took a half a step, put my foot right back down, ducked my head. Yes, sir. It's like, and then later I told him, you use the dad voice on me, no fair. I call bullshit.
I think it was there for that one. He just smiled.
He does that.
Well,
However, admittedly, I have been very grateful for, as Master James says, the Justin look. Because usually that look appears after I know I have either stuck my foot in it or I'm about to stick my foot in it. Either way, that look tells me that I need to back that foot right on out of that muck I just stuck it in.
He does tend to use it responsibly.
Sam says that Sir Justin's never done the voice, just the look.
Oh, he's done both to me, and he has actually told me no, and I've turned around and walked away. And get right on doing whatever I was gonna do.
Yeah, and Master James says he looked at me and just said Squire, and of course I went. So now, you and I have laughed for years that I am the redneck pelican. And what do you call yourself?
Oh, I was the bodily fluids pelican for a long time. I'm pretty sure that's how I got to be where, because my complete lack of fear of sweat, blood, tears, snot, it totally cured me of my emetophobia. I reached a point where I could just be like, oh, here's a Ziploc bag. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Go sit in the shade.
So I began to wonder there for a long time which one of us was going to hold out the longest for not wearing shoes. You have me beat. I finally found a site I could not go barefooted on, and that is the Schnepp Farm site, and it kills me.
I have to wear shoes now because I'm diabetic. I have some nerve damage in my feet, and I had the nerve in my leg. I had drop foot, and I couldn't lift my toe up. Like it hit last June. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Yeah,
There's a crown that I got yelled at constantly because I kept getting up and clumping around in the boot, and people kept yelling at me, and I'm like, I can't walk, but I don't care. I can't sit here anymore.
So, oh Lord, I'm sitting here running through a plethora of stories, and I'm like, oh no, we don't want to tell that one.
Sorry. He's snoring.
I was gonna say, he's just
it's a safe dog.
Oh, Sam said, oh, you have rules for how long you can wear your boots?
13 hours.
And I'm being told you don't follow them.
No, not usually.
Okay.
I had somebody take my boots away and he threw one up on the awning of his tent because he decided I was done. And I went on a stick and I poked it back down. Yeah, well, there was the time Sam probably means the time I got waterboarded. There was a crown up at, I think it was at Watson Lake, and the altitude and the heat just got to me. And water's heavy. Water's heavy, Blossom. I decided I need to go get water, and by the time I came back, I couldn't breathe, and I just threw myself down on the ground in the middle of the tent, and someone sat on me and poured water in my face to try to revive me. It didn't go well.
So the question I'm looking at now is, if all the squires belong to you, once they become knights, who do they belong to then?
The king?
No, they belong to everybody. They belong to everybody. When they're wearing a red belt, I am fond of them and I look out for them and I start seeing the knightly things. Once they're wearing a white belt and everyone sees that, I want everyone to see what I have always seen. I expect them to be the kind of person that I've always been able to approach them for help. And I want other people to know that they can as well. So yeah, once they're not, I'll stop asking them for help. But once they become a knight, they belong to everybody because they are now on display as having these particular qualities that we all admire and look up to. And I expect everyone to see that now. Because, when you're a squire, you get to slack off sometimes. And they don't expect you to be perfect right away. But once you're a knight and people see that white belt, I want them to see a good man, which I usually always have seen most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. There have been a few squires that I have gone after with a shoe. And there are a few nights that I've had to tell, hey, I just beat your squire with my flip flop.
I just have this image of a
Dude,
squire.
I beat a squire with someone else's shoe, and I chased him down while I was wearing a fracture boot.
For any scribes that are out there, if you draw, we desperately want a picture of Blossom chasing a squire with flip flop.
I've done it.
Just make a note of that.
I've done it. It wasn't even my shoe. Oh, I hit somebody with Sam's shoe one time.
Very good.
With Sam's shoe.
Very good.
Yeah.
I want it to be the cover of one of the Tuskers.
The cover of one of the Tuskers. That would be awesome.
Oh, it was Hawk. I smacked Hawk with Sam's shoe, and it was a nice little flat shoe, so it made a really good noise without actually being painful. It made that big whack, but it didn't actually hurt because I don't actually want to hurt anybody.
So, how many times have you been caught in the crossfire on the battlefield?
Never.
Never?
Never. I
That's
have never been overrun, ever. I got somebody trying to think. I had a spear dropped on me one time, once or twice, but no, I've never gotten overrun. It's like I have a bubble. It's like they know I'm there even when they don't know that I'm there. And I have waited out in there and pulled people out. And somebody took a cup shot and a marshal came and got me to get him out. And I see somebody coming. It was Aiden. And I see him coming my way backwards. He totally can't see me and he's flying. And I was like, Aiden! And he stopped and went the other way. And I don't even think he heard me. I don't even think he heard me. I threw the mom arm on a squire from outside the Eric. One time he'd gotten cracked in the nose and Mariana, Her Excellency Mariana was, and I was standing there holding a Ziploc bag for the gauze and stuff, and I see fighting coming my way, and I just threw the arm out there there, and it all turned and went the other way. So yeah, I think I've tripped and fallen once or twice, but I don't get overrun.
So speaking of the mom arm, you are phenomenally good with children that are not your own. And my JD and I were talking about you the other day because he made the comment. He's like, Mom, I need to get a hold of Blossom. I was like, okay, you know how to find her on Facebook. Is the world coming to an end? He's like, no, but I need her Brussels sprout recipe. I can't find anybody to do Brussels sprouts like she does.
All you need is an air fryer. If you've got an air fryer, you've got Brussels sprouts in the bag for the rest of time. That just like steam them first, just throw them in the microwave first, and throw them in the air fryer, and they're crunchy and wonderful.
I don't know. He loves them. He absolutely loves them. When he came home in March, I cannot tell you how excited that boy was to leave.
I saw him for like 30 seconds and I like threw a bag of Brussels sprouts at him and I'm like, dude, here, these are yours. I gotta go.
Yeah, he tells me later, he's like, I didn't get a chance to see her, but I got her Brussels sprouts. That's like, oh my God, boy, you're so weird.
I like to make snacks for people. That's my thing. I like to give people snacks. Dill pickle pasta salad. I'm trying to think. There's the bacon cheesecake brownies.
Oh, yes.
Bacon cheesecake brownies that I usually make for Morgan. And then the last time he won Crown, he very specifically told me like 3 times, do not make those anymore. I'm getting fat.
They're crack.
Yeah.
That blossom crack is what that is. Because once you start noshing on that and you just keep going, next thing you know, you've ate an entire pan all on your own. I'm like, yeah, no, those are dangerous to me.
Yeah, I don't even eat them.
Oh, Battle Pug is sleepy, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Snoring.
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 He's snoring. He's the chuggernaut. He's
Chuggernaut.
now the chuggernaut.
I can see he's got a spacesuit on.
He walks 2 miles every day. I don't know why he's this fat.
He is adorable. And, you know, as much as I looked forward to the Jack stories, your morning adventures is great to read over a cup of coffee.
He wants to be friends with all of the bunnies. He sees the bunnies and he wants to be friends with them, not play with them to death. He wants to like sniff them and romp with them and maybe eat poop. And he sees them and he'll stop and he'll look at the bunny and he'll look at me and then he'll look at the bunny and nope. We saw a coyote one morning and I'm like, nope, not make friends with coyote.
So if you had any words of encouragement for a new person starting out in our barony, what would it be?
Show up. Show up. That's all there is to it. I showed up at an officers meeting. If you just keep coming around and that's what it takes. Sean wanted me to take a deputy when he was Baron. And he kept telling me I had to have a deputy and I had to have a deputy. And why don't you have a deputy? And I was like, because people would contact me, be interested, and then they never came back. And I came out and I didn't know that was what I wanted to do, but I kept coming back. And as long as you keep coming back, ask questions, find the right people to hang out with. I wasn't hanging out with the right people when I first started out, but just keep coming back. Find something that you like and do the thing that you like.
We have a question about dirty and clean pelicans.
Oh, I'm a dirty pelican. I'm a dirty pelican.
Why are you a dirty
Master James is also a dirty pelican. Casca was a dirty pelican. Duchess Gabriella is a clean pelican. The difference is I am a lifting, toting pelican, and I show up and I get dirty, and I lift things and move things and change things and do things that I don't necessarily want to do. And there's a place for me. And there are clean pelicans who are really good with James is kind of a weird mix of clean and dirty because James has the best people skills of like anybody I've ever known. And being a clean pelican means that you know how to run things, you know how to make things happen, you know how you don't necessarily have to be the one slogging through the field carrying the things, but you're still there. It's people who work at Troll, people who get things done, work with volunteers, keep them encouraged, keep the bureaucracy rolling, keeping the policies and procedures rolling and stuff like that. It is still hard work. It's just not, it's more cerebral. And I am just not a cerebral person. I am a pick things up and move them person. I help.
I was just sitting here having a flash of the first Australia War at Schnepp Farms, the most recent version of Schnepp Farms. Here I'm driving around in Bertha pulling people out of the mud.
Yep.
And you're trudging around camp with mud up to your kneecaps. And I remember driving past you at one point, and I jumped out of the truck and I come around the corner and I said something to you and you kicked your foot up and you were like, I'm muddy. And I come around the end of Bertha and I've got mud up to my eyes and I'm like, I think I got you beat this time.
You don't have to like being dirty and sweaty. You can still be all kinds of useful by knowing things and by thinking things through and by being able to work with people. And that's just not really my forte, but I help.
Yet you have the I help, me do, you do, we do. What's that all about?
Oh my gosh. So when I was very small, my first words were cookie and me do. And this should tell you everything that you need to know about me. I'm sure if you haven't heard those words, you have seen it. Me do. I do. I do this. I do this. I don't need help. Me do. And once in a great while, I think maybe Sam and James are probably the only two people that have it, because it's rare. If I'm tired and I just can't and I'm not smart or whatever, and my husband too, I will just hand you something and go, you do. You do. I'll hand you an orange. You do. Open the orange. I need to eat the orange and I can't get it open. And Sam taught me we do at the really terrible, horrible, muddy Estrella that we actually got shut down for part of it. And everything was awful and so horribly terrible. That was the one where I lost your hat. That was one where I couldn't find your hat. Where you were elevated.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And we have, there's a guy from the Outlands named Warman that comes out and does snaps every year. He's been doing it forever and ever and ever and ever. And he is a little old man and he's actually missing a couple fingers. And he brings his wagon out there and he was out there and we did some fighting and it was time for him to go. And I was like, you leave that wagon right there. And I went, found a cart, put him on it. Like, we're not doing this. I will bring it to you. So Sam is helping it. Sigrid, pardon me, for Excellency Sigrid is helping me carry, get this wagon out. And we were kind of taking turns and I was being really stubborn about it. And we're trying to drag this horrendously overloaded wagon through like 6 inches of mud. And I kept going, me do. And she looked at me and she said, we do. So we each took part of the handle and we pulled it together and it actually went a little better. So sometimes I need that reminder that I need to let people help. And we do, because we are stronger together than just as one.
There are those moments where you have to be yelled at. I remember yelling across the field at you, have you ate breakfast? In a minute. No. No.
So what is always a bad answer to any question you want a yes or no answer to. If I just keep saying what, that's not a thing. I will lie to you. There's one person that I always answer and I always tell the truth to, and that would be Master James. So if you actually need an answer and you want me to not ignore you or actually not lie, you should probably have James ask me.
So how many pieces of bacon do you eat?
Did you eat?
2. Oh gosh, you're Pugsley.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Double unicorn.
I think that was that horrible Estrella because Brendan and I fight over the bacon.
That was double unicorn fist.
Yes. Brendan and I fight over the bacon, and I can't eat very much at a time anymore, and so I hide bacon. I don't come back to camp. I will eat something in the morning, and then I will go away, and then I don't come back to camp for a really long time. And he like eats lunch like a civilized person, so I will take a bag of bacon and I will hide it in my tent. In my tent, not in James's tent. In my tent that I don't sleep in. So yeah, I hide bacon. But the last Estrella setup, when we were out there for setup and they did breakfast for everybody, I got a Ziploc bag and I stuffed it full of bacon and I shoved it in the pocket of my hoodie, and then I rode around on the golf cart with Nastasia and I kept walking up to people, hey bacon? Hey bacon? It's awesome. It's great.
So His Excellency gives me the stink eye on this particular topic. But let's talk about the squeakers.
I order squeakers in bulk. I will put a squeaker in anything.
He desperately wants a squeaker right in the middle of his pelican hood.
We can do that. We can totally do that. I mean, literally, I have bags of squeakers.
I'll get you the hood next week.
Yeah, I put squeakers in everything. I make octopi. I make little squishy octopi for Lizzie, and I put squeakers in those. I've made little like I'm trying to think of the right word to use. That's not the bad word. I can't remember it. It's a Roman word, but in Roman times, it was very common to have phalli were considered good luck charms, so they were everywhere. And you put wings on them. They were wind chimes. You hung them over the door. They were everywhere. They weren't. Well, they're still tacky, but so I've made those and put squeakers in them. So I've made little squeaky. I have squeaky shrunken heads. I have squeaky sugar skulls. Not sugar skulls, just skulls. I have little squeaky ghosts. So yeah, I'll put a squeaker in anything. I have them like Her Excellency Tatinka. Tatinka actually sent me a bag of squeakers one time, just because I was bemoaning the fact that my husband was out of work and I wanted to make things with squeakers on them. And I didn't have any. So
Llama? What was that?
I think that's a very, very bad idea that must be done.
No, I see. Why is it my memory tells me that there was a llama that was running around the Verity there for with that would squeak?
yeah, I made one. I made one for Ari, Mistress Ari.
Yes, that's what she just wrote. She's like squeaky drama llama, and I'm like,
Yes. I made I also made I made the regalia for God Awful Grail that was actually yeah. And when you know I'm talking about penises. And there's the chariot races that don't happen. That never happened at Estrella, because why would we do a thing like that? I made warmers for the horses for the chariot races one year because someone asked me to. Yeah. So yeah, I'll put a squeeze. You know, for somebody who is such a prude, I just end up with
A lot of pieces.
yeah. Well, and see, that's rule number one. Rule number one is don't hump things you find on the ground. Actually, that's rule number 3. So Roffin has their rules, which are rule number 1 is don't be that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't remember all of them because they involve being a good person, and that's just not me. But I've had rules for years, and they are all inspired by Lands Connect, and they are don't hump things you find on the ground. Also, do not hump your squire. Humping is not part of death from behind, even if it is your squire. Rule number, don't lick things that are not food. Do not lick things that are not food. You are food if I feel like it. And rule number 3 is if you're not wearing pants, you best be wearing something, because I don't want to see your junk ever. So make sure that that's covered. I'm really good at not seeing those things. But yeah, those are my rules. And we used to have one that said, when Var's lips go away, you should too, because when he is unhappy, he becomes very thin-lipped, and you should just leave. You should just leave. Which you probably remember. I mean, you did try to set his crotch on fire one time.
I knew. I was so hoping we were gonna skip going to let that down.
Okay, so we were at a party, there was a fire pit, there was a big log across the fire pit, and you know how usually they'll burn through the center and then you kind of kick them into the middle, and she tried to do that, and instead it popped off the end, and my husband was sitting like right in front of the fire pit, and that flaming log came right for his crotch, and he flung his chair backwards, and it landed like right almost in his lap, and yeah. He was uninjured, but there was a joke for a while.
Did her volume go down?
Yeah. So to add to that, there was a half a second, me and Kenneberga and Blossom, and I think Berkadai were all trying to figure out, do we stomp on the fire?
Yeah, should we run in there? Should we not? Are his pants on fire? We don't want to stomp on that. And I'm like, no, please don't stomp on that.
And then on her way out the door, they're saying their goodbyes. I'm apologizing profusely. And I remember as she's giving me a hug, I'm like, this is going to be on the internet tomorrow. She's like, oh, I'm going home to live journal this.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now here we are, 10 years later.
Probably. Something like that.
I still can't live this down.
No, you can't. Are you kidding? I've been trying to live down the time that I super glued my fingers to the kitchen table when I was 13. That has been 40 years. And my parents still bring that up. What are you licking?
Apparently the volume knob.
Yeah, I think it's the volume knob.
Oh. I have no idea what he's doing. Oh, I know. You're the devil. You're fine.
So, yes, Sam, this is sort of a family show. Maybe a
Wait.
socially
Sam. No.
inappropriate family show.
We need to bring this back, because I think it was Sam talking about the flying phalluses in chat.
Uh-huh.
So Sam is the one saying family show, but she's the one that really didn't.
Well, and there's a word for him, and I can't remember it now because my husband has pointed out that quarantine has done terrible things to my memory. But I actually made one for Justin for our Christmas ornament exchange.
I did not. She couldn't think of the correct word for it.
Yeah.
No, there's a word, and it's not flying phallus. It's something else, and it's just not coming to me. But that's not anything. We can all live without knowing that word.
You know what? Quarantine has done funky things to everybody.
It has. It's been very.
That's the word.
It's been very stressful. It's very difficult not being able to see people and not being as
I miss my tribe.
huggy and touchy as we have been, and not being able to get together every week. And
I miss my job.
I miss my tribe desperately, and I miss being useful. I really miss being useful, and it's tough. It's not, even when we can get back together, it's still not going to be the same.
We'll find a way to make it as close to.
We will, and eventually it will be. But yeah, I miss family dinners. I miss how many I've spent so long with just Pugsley that I have a tendency. I don't need anything by myself anymore. I actually stuck a French fry in his ear the other day because I wasn't looking while I was handing him food. And now the next time I try to eat with somebody in public, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. And there was a time when we could do that. And that time is over.
Different than what we used to do before.
I had a doctor's appointment, and she was asking me questions about wearing a mask and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, I think the reason I haven't gotten sick is because my allergies. I think my allergies protect me to some extent, but I haven't gotten anything. I haven't gotten cold or anything like that for a couple of years now. And I was like, I think it's because I'm dirty. I lick people. And she just kind of looked at me and changed the subject. And I'm like,
there is some validity in eating dirt and having a rocking immune system because you ate dirt. So,
yeah,
but we will find a way. When we come back together, it won't look exactly the same, but we'll find a way. We'll find our new way, and we'll find our new way together. And there will be those of us that, dude, I'm a hugger. You want a hug and you're okay with it, we're gonna hug.
I'm being very careful to wear my mask in public, and at this point it is now for contact tracing. I mean, I do, but if anything happens to either one of us, we immediately know to get on the phone. Hey, I saw you. Yes. Those people at the grocery store?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that we will figure it out.
So there's a young lady, I believe you've met her, but when we do come back together, I would really like to introduce her to you. I think you will love her. Her name is Ashley, and she is on the chat right now.
She's amazing.
She is absolutely amazing. And she just wrote, more exposure to pathogens equal more immunity. And I didn't know this until after I got to know her, that she went to school to study all those bad things and tell us what those bad things do to us.
Ashley says that she has met Blossom and has helped her a bunch. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, good, because I keep seeing her name pop up, and it's Ashley Rao.
Yes,
that's her.
Okay, I grew up many years ago, and many miles away with a kid named Ashley Rao. So
wow.
I am familiar with that last name, and it keeps catching my attention every time I see it.
Yeah. She's amazing, and
yeah. When this all first started, we were doing game day over here at the house, which, yes, Ashley, we absolutely miss it like nobody's business. But she taught me some things when this all first started at the beginning that I had no idea, because it wasn't on my radar. So now when she tells me something, I'm like, really? Tell me more. more. So, well, it's almost about that time. Do you have any words of encouragement that you would like to share with anybody?
I help. We do. This is the way. This is how it works. We are all stronger together than apart. And I tell people I love them every night, whether I don't necessarily have to like you and want to be your best friend in order to tell you that I love you, because I believe everybody deserves love. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I want to hang out with you or be your roommate or go on a road trip with you, because happy people are a better presence in the world. And whatever it takes for you to be happy, that's what you should do, unless it's kicking puppies or pulling the wings off flies. So I miss my tribe.
Good words. Good words. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 2 of the All Thing. So it has been great with you, and I knew we were going to laugh. It was exactly what I thought it would be. Lots of
I
laughs.
did the drunk seagull thing.
And then
One thing that we skipped over.
one thing that we saved to the end for a very specific reason. Come on. Let's see. Where did it go? Where did it go?
Before that, I think.
I think so. Come on, come on, come on. That'll put.
Oh, now you can read fast.
Hey, really?
Really, really.
I should have highlighted that one.
I know, your life is terrible.
Read that, that's you.
I can probably find it faster here. So, so Ari says her favorite Blossom saying, "We are all so damn beautiful when we're all out there together."
Mm-hmm.
And you are not wrong. When we come together, we are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. All of us.
Yep.
And
That's absolutely a thing, and I miss that so desperately.
and we will be back together, and we will be just as beautiful and just as better when we do. But I have one parting question for you, Blossom. And as soon as I can find the silly question, I know because we were hanging on to this one for a very specific purpose.
There,
Got it?
got it. I found it.
Yay, good job.
Has anyone told you lately that Zippy loves you?
Oh my God. I miss him so much.
Yeah.
We all do.
I miss him desperately. Zippy is a large part of the reason that I have lasted as long as I have, and he is part of the reason that I'm a pelican.
So I remember when you were offered.
I was there.
Do you remember when I almost squished Master Richard like a bug?
I do. I do. So, Blossom, as you know, somebody that
Yes.
you are such an integrated person in this barony. Any one of us, new and old, know that if we need something, we go find Blossom. And I want to say thank you so much for everything you do and everything you bring to the table. You don't think you bring as much as you do, but you make all of our lives in the SCA so much better every day, whether it's a smile or you're plopping a package of cheese in our mouth.
You help us all be more beautiful.
You do help us be more beautiful. And
Thank you for letting me help.
Well, we appreciate you, and there's just it is so difficult to show appreciation on the magnitude that you give to all of us. But I know everyone out there is so thankful for you and so grateful that we have you. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for letting us tell all the stories, even the ones then I wanted to hide. Send my love to Var, please.
I will do. Thank you so much.
Join us next time. We will be having a sit down with Duke Edward.
Oh, that'll be fun.
That'll be epic. So, tonight, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thanks for jumping in. Any parting words, Blossom?
Blossom loves you. Go to bed.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I don't know.